Hello there, I'm Big Alias, Double A Gaming. Didn't mean to jump scare you like that. Double A Gaming. I like Double A Gaming. In fact, I love Double A Gaming. I really like it because it feels like the only form of gaming where it's just like, hey, here's a game. Go play it. Go do the game. You know, you don't get constantly hit with splash screens telling you to buy 17 different currencies. You have to play doing a backflip in this, you know, Souls-like game. Now there are a lot of AA Souls-like games actually, but it is the only place where you'll find like classic game design. You know, here's a gun, shoot a bunch of people, and then win the galaxy, and that's your goal. And that's my favorite type of gaming, and I'm glad that we have AA Gaming to keep that going. But sometimes, you know, in the case like this with Atlas Fallen, I think that maybe that game design has, I don't want to say gone too far, but not been implemented in a way that I thought was of its full potential, which is a shame, because there's a lot that I like about this game. I'm going to be honest with you, I went into this really wanting to like this. It's my type of game, you know, just like collect a bunch of numbers and then win the galaxy, and I like that. You know, I'm not the biggest open world guy, but the open world seemed really cool to me. I like taking down giant monsters. I like the ability to, you know, alter the difficulty to make that a bit easier for me. I like doing stuff like this, upgrading, blah, blah, blah. And this game, you know, going into it, I really wanted to play it because it felt like it was going to offer me that. But it's flawed in a lot of areas. So let's talk about the biggest issue. I want to get this out of the way straight away, okay? The biggest issue that this game has is with level design. Level design is atrocious here, by which I mean, genuinely, quite possibly, some of the worst level design that I've seen in a very long time, because it implements the worst type of mission structure that you can possibly encounter in a game. It's checklist missions. It killed Anthem. It killed many games in the 6th and 7th gen. It should have died in 2019 with Anthem. It should have gone the way of the dodo. The fact that game design like this still exists drives me crazy. But yes, it's checklist gameplay. And basically what I mean by that is you're thrown into a world and it's like, hey dude, collect 4 of these. Collect 3 shards. Go find 4 townspeople to speak to. There's genuinely a mission here where it's like you're in these mines and it says go speak to 3 workers, and it's just, I get it in an MMO, you know, it's supposed to be sort of as bare bones in terms of like mission complexity as possible, plus a lot of those MMOs were made a long time ago and made on a large scale, so it makes sense. But here it's inexcusable, especially as I just wrapped up Mafia Definitive Edition, a game where, like, yes, you're in an open world, but then you can go into an enemy base, and it's sprawling, and there's lots of avenues and areas to go to. And this is the complete opposite. You rock up at an area, you take an enemy down, and you collect a shard, or something like that. And that, ultimately, is the mission design. I hate to get the bad thing out of the way, but this is a huge mark against the game. A game that, again, I wanted to like. If the game had proper mission design, proper level design, proper things to do, then I wouldn't be opening with this, and I would honestly really like the game, because there's a lot of things I do like. The world, I think it has potential. Do I think that maybe it's a little bit too barren, a little bit too repetitive? I'm not a huge fan of the color palette in some of the areas, but I like the idea of, you know, a giant Dune-esque, sprawling, sandy world. And yes, I'm looking forward to the Dune MMO, but I think that's really cool. And there are some things here that I think are really great things that they implemented. It almost feels crazy that the developer would implement some of the ideas here, but then some of the worst ideas as well. But yeah, you have like these sand hills, you know, and you can slide up and down them. If you start sprinting around the world and you approach any kind of downward incline, you immediately start sliding, and it's faster, and it's fun, and it's great. You know, you don't get a vehicle or a mount or anything like that, but you don't need it. You have the slide ability, which I think is way cooler than anything like that, and it works everywhere. It works on the internal areas and the external areas. It's liberating, it's fun, it's great, and like I said, I like the world, and the combat can be really fun sometimes. It's fairly basic. It's just, you know, mash X, mash Y, dodge, parry, blah blah blah. But what game isn't like that nowadays? And I think it's well implemented here. When you take on a giant, huge monster, you do feel as though you are doing the work. You're not just chipping away. You have to combine all of your powers. You have to do it. You have no choice. And your ability to use combat effectively as well, and all of that together makes for a great combat system. Do I think it feels a little bit autopilot-y sometimes? Yes, and in the gameplay footage, if you're watching it, it's gonna look that way, but actually it does feel, fairly liberating and quite good. The story, I didn't go into it expecting much. I don't really care. But the storytelling isn't great. No, there's a definite lack of cutscenes here. It's a lot of just scrolling text, and you skip text, or you read the text. It's just people chatting to each other. And I expect a game that has like such a large sense of grandeur to do more with the story, and that kind of sucks. But the soundtrack's great. Overall sound design is great. But there's an upgrade system. There's not a great system in this game. I'm just going through a checklist of things. And I don't really like it. I'm not a huge fan of the upgrade system here. A game like this would typically have like leveling, and you get more health if you level, or more damage, or a skill tree basically. This doesn't have a skill tree. Also, it has like upgradable armor, but it's in the weirdest, most linear, sort of unsatisfying way that you could possibly imagine, where you just, as you progress through the campaign, people like give you armor. So you end up with like the same 5 or 6 armor presets that everyone else who plays the game will have, and it's obviously you're going to choose the next one because the next armor is going to be stronger than the previous. So basically, if you play through the game for like, let's say 6 hours, and someone else does, you're going to have the same armor set. So that's kind of crappy. Like, you don't find it in boxes or anything like that. What you do find in boxes is these powers, and you have like 3 powers for level 1, 3 powers for level 2, and 2 powers for level 3. And it's various things that you can mix and match, and that's quite cool. But a lot of them, it's like, oh, you get increased damage. We also get decreased health, and it's just, I don't like it when they do that. I want to feel as though I'm getting more powerful as I go along, and I just don't get that sense. I don't get that sense at all with this game. I can't go out and like farm leveling from enemies because there's just no point, and you don't actually level either. You might end up grabbing one of these powers, and if that's an approach that you like to upgrading, then great, but it's not one that I like. So I'm not a huge fan of the upgrade system here, but I could see where you would be if you were. It's annoying because I really want to like this game more than I do. When I'm sliding around, it's liberating and it's great, and I encounter an enemy and the combat's fun, and I'm just like, yes, it's firing on all cylinders and I'm enjoying this, and I want this game to be great. But I can't ignore the issues with it, so it's hard to put a score on this. It's either going to be a very strong 6 or a very weak 7. But if I do put a 7 on this, it's a 7.0. It's as weak as it gets, because there's just so many issues. But overall, like, I did have a fairly good time playing this game, and isn't that what it comes down to after all? Well, let's put a score on it. So yeah, that's what I went with in the end. Let me know what you think, potentially. I haven't said that in a long time, and I'll see everyone later.
The PlayStation is only $149, and you can also get leading titles.